Hi, I'm Bill Corcoran Jr. This is the On the Stacks podcast.
Oh yeah, whoa, look, they can never keep me down, I'm going, and if I ever fail, just know I'll go again. I never quit, cause I know that every loss may lead to another win. I'm going up.
Today's guest is Margavage, consultant meteorologist, storm chaser, and creator of Margavage's weather discussion page on Facebook. In this episode, we talk about controversial topics like climate change, wildfires, and UFO sightings. During our conversation, we discussed the mysterious wildfires in Canada that were potentially caused by arson, and the United States whistleblower that claims he has evidence that the government has a secret UFO retrieval program and that they're covering it all up. Mark also shows us data of what does and does not cause climate change, and we dive into the financial interests behind climate change policies and explore the potential consequences of censorship that occurs online and in social media when we have conversations and debates about controversial topics. This episode would not be possible without the support of our sponsors, so please check them out in the show notes. I'm your host, Bill Corcoran Jr., and this is Margavage on the Stacks.
We've got smoke, we've got aliens, we've got COVID. What do you believe? It's hard to trust what the government says. Trust the science. As a scientist, that's not how it works. Science is about testing, constantly updating theories and proving things wrong and learning from your mistakes. We scientists don't trust the science. You try to ask your own questions and you get censored. Censorship is bad in every form that it ever has taken in human history. Name me one time where censorship solved a problem.
This episode is brought to you by Sweat Tent, the pioneers of the portable wood-burning sauna. Did you know that using the sauna 3 to 4 times per week could reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease by up to 50% and make you 60% less likely to experience Alzheimer's disease? That's why I've been a big fan of the sauna for years. But having to go to a crowded gym to do it isn't ideal. And all the at-home options are bulky and expensive. That's why I only use the Sweat Tent for my sauna needs. It's the most storable and affordable wood-burning sauna on the market. It not only takes minutes to set up, but it can reach 200 degrees Fahrenheit in 30 minutes or less. So whether you're enjoying it yourself in your backyard, with friends, or in need of a reliable sauna on the go, Sweat Tent is your best choice for the most portable, storable, and enjoyable outdoor sauna experience. All On The Stacks listeners will receive $100 off when you use code OTS. Visit sweattent.com today to get $100 off your purchase with code OTS at checkout. Again, that's sweattent.com to get $100 off with code OTS. Sweat Tent, helping you fire up your home wellness routine. This episode is brought to you by Burn, the fitness company behind the Today Show approved Burn board. If I'm being honest, working out can be a real chore, especially as a new dad in desperate need of sleep and cardio. Burn is founded by NEPA native Jimmy T. Martin, and his Burn board offers a low-impact core and cardio experience unlike anything I've done before. They have hundreds of on-demand workouts that are great for beginners, seasoned athletes, and out-of-shape podcast hosts who love supporting small businesses. My wife and I use it pretty frequently throughout the week, and it's honestly a great way to burn a ton of calories without burning a ton of cash. Not to mention, it's a great tool for skiers, runners, wrestlers, and hockey players. Jimmy is offering all On The Stacks listeners 15% off when they use the code STACKS15. Visit theburn.com today to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15 at checkout. Again, that's theburn, THEBRRN.com to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15. It's time to get on board today with Burn. This episode is brought to you by Cavanaugh's Grille, one of my favorite places to eat and drink in NEPA. They've got one of the best outdoor patios with 13 TVs and over 20 beers on tap. You can also dine inside at this cozy Irish-style pub where your beer never goes empty. Did I mention how delicious their food is? Their in-house smoked brisket, barbecue ribs, and wings are to die for. So grab your friends and have a drink on me at Cavanaugh's. Mention code STACKS for one free draft beer with purchase of any entree when you dine in. Located at 163 North Main Street in Mountaintop, Cavanaugh's is open at 4 p.m. during the week and 12 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday during football season. Dine in today at Mountaintop's only Irish-style pub. What's up, podcast? It's your host, Bill Corcoran Jr. here in the Blue Door Studio, protected by our friends at Ricci Security Solutions. Margavage, welcome to the On The Stacks podcast.
Well, hello, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we have a major weather thing going on, and you came dressed for the occasion. I mean, I don't get many people that come dressed as nicely as you. I love the blue, by the way, the blue suit. I have one like almost just like it. You got the tie, the lapel pin. Hold on, wait. Look at this.
Put a lot of effort into matching
My
the lapel
goodness.
pin with the tie. So thanks,
Wow.
Bill. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you don't really know me from kind of like a few years ago because we just met.
This is my first blue suit, by the way.
Is it?
I like it a lot.
Yeah,
it's really grown on me.
It's a really good look. That's like a really good blue.
Thank
It
you.
looks good on you. It matches your eyes.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
but I have a suit very similar to it, so that's why I'm like,
got the matching cufflinks here. I'm not
look
sure
at
if you can
this.
see that.
Oh my god, you really went all out.
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
Dress for success, right?
So they say. I appreciate it because I used to dress in suits a lot. I kind of just became a little more casual over the years, but I've got a lot of suits. One, like I said, looks just like that, and your shoes too. I know everybody can't see your shoes, but you have these blue suede shoes.
I could take one off.
You
and
might
show
have to. You might have to. Look at this.
blue suede shoes. Elvis would be proud.
Oh my god. The paisley pattern on the inside.
Oh yeah.
I'm a big paisley fan. Yeah.
They're comfortable too. I like them a lot.
Nice. But yeah, so thanks for showing up dressed
To the
for
nine
the
so to
occasion.
speak.
Yeah, for the occasion.
problem.
Pouring ass rain, by the way.
Yeah, you brought me in on a day where we're seeing more rainfall than we've seen in, it's got to be at least 2 months. We went the entire month without seeing a raindrop. And here today, just saw before we started recording that the National Weather Service has Luzerne County under a flood advisory here. We've already seen about 2 inches of rain, and we're looking to see about 2 inches more before it stops. The plants will love it, but some urban flooding is likely here today with some streets and the poor drainage areas. If the drains are clogged, you'll see streets fill up with water rather quickly.
Do you think the rain will help my beard grow as long as yours?
I don't know. The snow has really helped me grow my beard.
Is that what it was?
That is what it is.
It's a snow beard.
It protects my face from extreme conditions during the winter. When I go on storm chases, as you know, I'm a winter storm chaser. I don't chase tornadoes. That's just crazy. I don't want to risk my life. But I do love snow, and I want to share the joy of winter with all of my followers. And I've been trying to do that for about 10 years. And if you're here watching from Mark's Weather on Facebook, give these guys a follow on the Stacks podcast. Thanks for watching. And
Appreciate that.
yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
Thanks
so
for having me.
So the beard keeps you warmer.
It does.
In the cold.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So if I'm in a blizzard or just a regular snowstorm, the beard keeps your face warm, like almost like having a full-fledged face mask over it. And I couldn't imagine going into the conditions I go into without a beard. So I've decided to keep it long. I guess you could say it's grown on me.
yeah, that's very, very good. That's very good. So how long have you had it?
I actually started growing this in October in preparation of this past winter because
I thought you were going to say in preparation for the podcast.
No, in preparation for this last winter because I was expecting it to be rather extreme. Now, if you're here in the Wyoming Valley, you might think, it wasn't really much of a winter at all.
Right.
But you didn't have to go very far to see Buffalo, New York, had people die in a blizzard.
You were up there, weren't you?
Well, not for that one. That one was on the Christmas week, but the one in November I was there.
Okay, I remember seeing something on Facebook.
Yeah, 77 inches in a day. I picked the spot where that would happen and went up there ahead of time, got a hotel room, and reported
ready
from
for
it
it.
live. Yeah, and pretty much that's the storm that I think really put me on the map as far as a storm chaser goes. I've been doing meteorology now for at least 10 years, but storm chasing, that's a relatively new development in my career. And seeing 77 inches in a day and sharing it with the world was a memory I'll never forget. The snow was basically up to the top of my head. I gave you a photo. Maybe you'll share it there. Certainly something that it's hard to imagine when somebody says, 77 inches in a day. Like, how did that even happen? Well, let me tell you how. There was thunder snow nonstop for 5 hours straight. So approximately every 2 minutes, there was a bolt of lightning with the snow. And that's how hard it was snowing.
There you are. Look at it.
There I am. Yep.
So you're standing.
So yeah, I'm 6 feet tall. The beard, as you can see there, isn't nearly as long as it is now, but I started growing it in October, as I said, in preparation for this winter, because I was expecting a severe winter.
Okay.
At least there was a higher chance that this past winter would be severe than previous winters, and I explained that a lot heading into the winter. I will say I was wrong here in the Wyoming Valley. We didn't see the severity that areas just to the north and west of here saw. But my forecast area does cover those areas. So I forecast from Buffalo over to Boston, down to Baltimore. So for me, there was an area of my zone that really got slammed this past winter. Now, if you look out in the western United States, they got buried. It's still snowing out there in June.
That's crazy.
Believe it or not, it's still snowing there. And if it still snows until the summer solstice, that's how we start building a glacier in the higher elevations of the western United States. So that could be an interesting topic of discussion as it pertains to climate change. We may have a homegrown glacier here if we keep the snowfall going through the summertime in the west.
Wow. So when you said, like you've been doing this for like 10 years or so, right? Like, have you, when you were a kid, did you like always know you wanted to be like a weather guy?
Well,
do you call yourself a weather guy?
No, I call myself.
That's like cheesy, isn't it?
Yeah,
that was cheesy. I'm sorry, everybody.
It's a amateur.
Okay. I'm an amateur. It's all good.
I'm a consultant meteorologist. I have a specialty in medium to long range winter weather forecasting. That's more or less how people know me, as I try to get as accurate snowfall forecasts and far enough in advance that you can actually make a decision on it. 10 years or so ago, I realized there was this need for winter weather forecasting that wasn't being met by your standard outlets for weather locally here anyway. That's the experience I had to draw on. So I decided to fill that need. And over the years, grew more and more. Started with one follower who I didn't know. And I was just given forecasts, putting it out there into the ether. Had no idea who was going to read it or whether they would be accurate. Turned out they were accurate. And I maintained a level of accuracy over a long enough period of time. And never advertised, I'll point out, just through word of mouth. Grew up through Facebook and got to the point where this year now I'm at 60,000 followers. And
it's impressive.
Still growing. Thank you.
That's impressive, dude.
Yeah. Like I said, my goal is to bring the joy of winter to the masses. And I have a saying that I always say to my followers: you have to find joy in the snow, because if you don't, you'll have less joy in your life and the same amount of snow. Words to live by.
That's it. Clip that. That's a perfect clip. I'm sending you that one, man.
That is a good one.
So as a kid, like, were you always interested in like science?
So I can succinctly describe what led me to be a meteorologist.
All right, here we go.
And particularly interested in winter weather. In 1993, the March blizzard struck this area. And many other areas. In fact, that's probably the one storm I could talk about that no matter where you are in the eastern United States, you remember it. Because if you were alive, it shut everybody down. Didn't choose winners and losers. Everybody got the snow. That had a big impact on me at 8 years old. And not too long after that, the blizzard in 1996 hit. And that certainly within a few years as a kid, you're like, wow. Yeah. The blizzard in 93, I have to, before I move on to 96, 1993 for me shut the school down. It was a storm that hit on a Saturday. It shut the school down for a whole week from Monday through Friday. The storm hit on Saturday. That was crazy to me.
Yeah.
But I loved it. The snow piles were like mountains, and it was something that seemingly in the 90s was commonplace, and I started to get used to it. But then, as I mentioned, 1996 hit. That cemented it. Oh, now I really
Like,
wanted
I love snow.
I really wanted to predict it, though, because 1996 and 1993, those were the first two real winter storms that the National Weather Service could point to and say, we predicted those days in advance. In fact, 1993 was the first.
Okay.
They hold that as the first time they ever predicted a storm 5 days in advance. So my goal is to do that consistently. Okay, we did it in 1993. 2023, we should be able to do it every time, right?
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, that's not the way the weather works. If it did work that way, there probably wouldn't be much of a niche for a guy like me who has a skill at forecasting. If the computer models were always right, well, you could just ask the computer models what's going to happen.
How often are you allowed to be wrong?
So, how do we define wrong? That's
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
When it comes to meteorology, it's not an exact deterministic science where you
There's a lot of gray area
Yeah,
here.
it's
Right?
chaos theory, the butterfly effect, if you will. And the other problem is the weather models take in a finite amount of data from the atmosphere, and they certainly have gaps between where they collect data. And those gaps lead to errors. And the further out you try to forecast something into the future and the less data you have, the bigger your errors are going to be. But that's the difference between a computer model's ability and a forecaster's ability. A forecaster can look at the errors, and perhaps a computer model, maybe the GFS, for example, has a particular set of errors that it makes in a certain situation that can clue you in. Oh, I've seen this before.
So you kind of then know.
Yeah, you use your experience to...
As a human.
Yeah. You're using a skill. You're deducing, detecting patterns. That's what we're good at. Humans are good at detecting patterns. So meteorology is just, it's always been natural for me. And like I said, as a young kid, 93, 96, I mean, if you lived in this area, you got so many days off in the winter of 93, 94 that we were going to school an extra half hour in the beginning of the day and at the end of the day because they ran out of vacation days to make us go to school. We had so many days off. I mean,
so you were just going for you were just hoping to get the snow to get the days off of school, huh?
I love.
I mean, I was anyway.
So I'm the oldest of three. I have a younger brother and a younger sister. And as cheesy as this may sound, I just loved playing in the snow with my brother and sister. I mean, it was like...
Yeah, who didn't?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was dude, growing up in this area, it's that's what you did.
Exactly.
Like, no school, you go outside.
Sleigh riding in Kirby Park.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom used to, when we'd go to the grocery store, she'd make it a point to stop at the snow piles so that we could climb them, play on them and stuff. And I mean, oh man, I can't remember the last time we had snow piles like that around here. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Hoping.
Yeah.
I'll get into what we talk about later. I'm going to talk about El Nino, and there's a chance that this coming winter El Nino is going to bring us a change of fortune as far as snowfall goes, because last winter, as I mentioned, I was expecting the potential for some extreme conditions.
I thought we were too. I thought it was I just felt like we were due for like a bad snow year.
So
right?
The extreme conditions materialized. Out west, some places got 900 inches of snow, and like I said, it's still snowing into June. So
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Did anybody else forecast anything like that? I don't know, but
probably not. Yeah.
The problem with forecasting months in advance is, from my perspective anyway, now I can see an extreme event coming, an extreme winter coming, but you can't always throw a dart and pinpoint where it's going to be on the map. So the Wyoming Valley missed out this past winter.
Just went somewhere else.
And it was in Buffalo. It was in the western United States. It was there, and we're still dealing with the below normal temperatures. When was the last time you remember a June that was so cool? I mean, yeah. I remember we're talking about being younger in school. I remember the Junes when you're winding out the school year, and it was hot as hell in school, and I was dying for air conditioning. I mean, I'm
sweating. Yeah,
no,
got the windows open.
No need for that this year.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that's happened in the atmosphere over the last couple of years that really makes it hard to predict beyond a month or two. We had a huge volcanic eruption back in 2021, December of 2021. And that injected more water vapor into the stratosphere than we've ever observed before. Water vapor is really good at holding in heat. So it can create havoc in the stratosphere where the air is very thin. Doesn't usually have much heat up there. It's usually extremely cold. So when you inject that much water vapor, strange things can happen. And,
like what?
Well, like this period of extended coolness that we're seeing over the northern hemisphere this year. Despite the global trends of recent years being warmer than average, this year, not so much. Now, we've had wildfires here recently, and some people have been trying to tie those to climate change. I'm not going to do that. As a matter of fact, I brought an animation with us.
Did you?
This
All right,
would
yeah,
be a good time
yeah.
to...
It's one of the things you brought here. So let's see. I think it's this one here, right? Is this it?
Yep, there it is. So we're going to start off June 1st, June 2nd.
All right, here we go. I'm going to hit play.
This animation. Yeah, hit play.
All right, here we go.
And you're going to see the wildfires start there in Canada, produce a bunch of smoke. It gets pushed down into the eastern United States, blankets New York, northeast Pennsylvania, and basically everybody with a thick layer of smoke. But notice how it's swirling around there. There's a area in the middle where it's clear, and it looks like a swirl of smoke around it. The reason it came southward from Canada is because that swirl that you see there is a low pressure system, and so the winds are funneling it southward out of Canada.
Okay.
So now I can't say that's because of climate change. Low pressure systems come across the northeast United States all the time. Just happened to be at a time when the smoke was very dense. But the other thing I want to point out on this animation is take a look at when the smoke starts. What do you notice there, Bill?
Oh man, this is, I didn't do too good at advanced Earth and space class in
Do you notice how the fires all seem to start at once?
Yes. Okay. Well, I did ask you that before we started. I said, and you said, well, we'll talk about it on the show, because I said to you, I was like, how did all of these supposed wildfires, a whole bunch of them, I think I said wildflowers, wildfires, all start at the same time? Like, how does that happen?
Arson. That's been my best answer here so far. From what I've uncovered, that
is this your theory?
No, police in Canada have arrested people.
Oh, really?
That they suspect of setting these fires. So,
this is how many were there? How many were there?
Well, we can try and count them there, but there was at least a dozen of them.
All right,
and you can see right there
all those little dots,
all those little brown dots in northern Quebec there.
Yeah, I'm gonna play it again.
All set at the same time.
Yeah.
Almost as if they had a meteorologist forecasting where the wind would be blowing.
Interesting.
Now I'm going out there on a limb there, but
I like where it's going.
Yeah,
I don't like where the smoke went, but I like where this is going.
The evidence here to me seems to support the idea that this was a deliberate human
attack on America.
Maybe who knows if they intended it to come to the United States or not. That I'm not willing to go that far, but I am willing to say that those were intentionally set because they happened all at the same time. I've gone back and looked to see if there was lightning in the area. There was not. It was more or less a clear day, and all these fires spark all at once, and then the smoke comes south. Seemingly they knew. I mean, if you want to go there and say they were attacking the United States.
I want to go there. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, whoever they are,
right? Not saying it was Canada.
They must have had a weather forecast. The North Atlantic Oscillation was predicted to go negative, strongly negative, and when that happens, you get an airflow that's more or less out of Canada into the northeast United States, where millions of people live, and where it would be financially beneficial to the narrative to have a whole bunch of smoke descend on people.
Is there anything like that you know of? I'm trying to think. Is there anything that was happening around these days that like would have been good to have smoke roll through this part of the United States? I don't know.
It's never good to have that much smoke.
Right, never.
The air quality index
very bad
in this area hit levels we've never seen before. That was a record. So for me, it's a stretch. You're going to have to explain away several things to say that this was a naturally occurring event and that this is because of climate change. I just don't buy that. And I've seen that theory pushed by mainstream news outlets, and
that they're saying that it's
related somehow to climate change, that they're causing these fires. Well, as a matter of fact, the wildfires globally over the last 100 years are way down. Way down. It's not even close.
Are they?
Oh yeah.
I feel like
1900. I mean, do you realize how much?
I feel like they're way up.
No,
I just don't pay attention enough. But like,
so in 1900,
you know better than I do.
There was about 200 million square kilometers more being burned per year than in 2023.
That's kind of a lot.
Yeah, that's a real lot. And unfortunately, I don't have that graph to show you, but
you have the facts that back it up.
You can search it. It's out there.
Yeah.
The number of wildfires, at least in acreage burned per year, is going way down. And that's largely because of human intervention, the fact that we don't burn wood for heat much anymore. That's another thing. People want to ban natural gas. Well, what are people going to use to heat their homes?
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to start burning wood again? That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So you think this whole thing, this smoke thing, was intentionally set? I'm with you. I'm agreeing. I'm just being devil's advocate for the people watching.
I don't want to say that definitively. I want to say that the evidence seems to suggest that, and the Canadian officials have arrested several people who I assume they've done an investigation of.
Do you think it'll come out in the news?
It's out there. You can find it.
Or is it just buried?
There's so much going on now. We've got aliens landing in people's backyard in Las Vegas.
Did that happen after the smoke, by the way? The alien?
So much going on.
Oh my God.
What do you believe? So the alien thing. We've got a whistleblower claiming.
Yeah, he was like an Air Force guy or something, right?
So I'm in pretty deep on this.
Okay, all right.
Let me lay it out there.
By the way, I'm really happy that I have somebody like you on the show that's as knowledgeable as you are just about all this stuff and aliens and everything else, because it interests me. I don't know a whole lot about it. I would like to know more about it, and I'm obviously, we're going to hear about it in a minute here, but I've never really had anybody that's been on the show or knew of anybody really, because we didn't know each other prior to this, that I knew I could have on the show that could intelligently, talk about this type of, information and have like an actual discussion on it. So I'm really excited for this.
I think as a scientist, I think we need to have more discussions like this specifically about topics that are controversial.
Yeah.
I think over the last few years, censorship has taken a unnerving route in society, and these open discussions about topics that maybe make you feel uncomfortable, they're good to have. Because otherwise, how do you determine what's real? I mean, I can't believe anything the government tells me anymore after these last several years. I mean, so now they're saying that we've got a whistleblower, which I'm going to lay this out. So I'm torn on this issue of the whistleblower here. I've researched this extensively and tried to look at. He is who he says he is. That I can tell you. He's a high-ranking intelligence official who was responsible for the daily briefing for the President of the United States. It doesn't get much higher up the chain.
Wow.
So whatever this guy is saying, it bears listening to, right? You shouldn't discount him out of hand. His claim is that the government is in possession of 12 or more non-human, intelligently controlled craft. He doesn't think spaceship is the right word, but he calls them non-human, intelligent, engineered craft. Not of human design. He says there's also bodies. Bodies.
Like non-human.
Yeah. So now what I'm going to say here, this is going to sound like a sci-fi novel here, but this is an official government whistleblower. He's gone through the official channels to say that he's This is going on outside the purview of Congress. They're not reporting what they're doing to Congress. They're using public funding, millions of dollars going into a black hole with no oversight, trying to reverse engineer these craft that he says we.
So we need to know where our money's going.
That's the thing. And as a scientist, the problem is if you're trying to reverse engineer this advanced technology, you're never going to be able to do it in a room with 2 or 3 people that are the only ones that know about it. I mean, the biggest advances in technology come with open public debate and research through many institutions around the planet. There's no way that a few people in a dark room somewhere are going to be able to
figure it out. It's
There's
just 2 people or however many, but it's not like you said. It's not like you have the Elon Musks of the world and all these other people that have been in these types of fields and industries. Like everybody doing their own type of research. Somebody will figure something out.
Right.
But that's not happening.
So far, no. And the whistleblower, David Grush, I should say his name, has said that there's a concerted misinformation campaign that's been conducted against the U.S. populace for 90 years. He claims the first recovered craft came from Italy, 1933, I believe it was, or 31, in the 30s, we'll say, just because I don't remember exactly what year. Recovered by Italy in the 30s. World War II ends. Italy was part of the Axis, and so their government's in shambles after the war. The Vatican, which is located in Italy, tells the United States, hey, they got this craft. Why don't you guys take a look at it? And so the United States brings it back, and we've had it for the last 90, or since the 40s. In 1945, they brought it back.
It's almost 80 years, right?
Yeah, and so they've accomplished nothing, apparently, on trying to reverse engineer it in the last 80 years. I think the cat's out of the bag, so to speak, and the public needs to start taking a look at this. And I'm not here to convince you that aliens are real. I'm not here to convince you that the government has these craft. This is what the whistleblower is saying, and he's doing it through official government channels. So what I think we should do is approach this with an open mind. Either he's lying, he doesn't know he's lying, he's being fed a bunch of BS, or it's true.
What do you think?
Well, I think I'm keeping an open mind that either way, that it's possible.
Are you leaning one way?
I had an experience that I can't explain that I'd be happy to get into with you.
Like an alien experience?
Well,
some type of.
I witnessed something fly over me that I can't explain. And as a meteorologist, it certainly wasn't a weather phenomenon. It was at night. It was when I came back from that 77-inch snowstorm. As a matter of fact, I have a description of what I saw that night. If you wouldn't mind, I can read 100%. It off my phone here.
Yeah.
So let me bring this up. All right. So this happened November 26th, 2022.
You have to screenshot that too, by the way. Screenshot that and send it to me after this, and we'll toss it up here on the screen too.
Will do.
Yeah.
Will do.
Go ahead.
Okay. I posted this to Facebook. I decided to do this because memory is a weird thing. It can get fuzzy over the years. This was something that stood out to me as I'd never seen anything like this before. So I wanted to write it down and document it. Exactly. So I say, I just saw a dark, circular UFO coast over my head in Edwardsville, Pennsylvania. It was about 40 feet across, about 100 feet off the ground. How I judged that was with the telephone poles. The telephone poles are about 30 feet. It was a little ways above the top of the telephone pole, but was still huge. It was very dark in color, almost black. But it was low enough to the ground that the orange glow of the street lights was reflecting back down at me as it passed over the top of the street lamps. I heard no sound, and I only saw it because I was looking up at the stars. When I got home from that snowstorm, the sky was crystal clear. After a snowstorm, often that's what happens. The cold air moves in, sky clears out, and you get a beautiful view of the stars. That's what I was looking at, and then all of a sudden this thing comes flying up.
How fast was it going, do you think?
Slow.
Slow.
Pretty slow, yeah. 10 miles an hour, maybe. Like,
slow. That's
extremely slow for something of that size in the air. It was going at a speed where I thought, how is that even, like, flying?
So what'd you do at the moment? Are you still reading this? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I cut you off.
So I heard no sound, saw it because I was looking at the stars, and it was moved silently overhead. All I could think was, what the heck is that? And it was moving, if you're in the Wyoming Valley, it was moving parallel to Wyoming Ave, over Edwardsville towards Plymouth. And I've never seen anything that big fly over my head so low to the ground, nor have I ever seen anything that big move so slow through the air. I can't say what it was because it was dark in color. It was circular. And the only reason I know that is because the orange glow of the streetlights was reflecting back down on the under part of whatever this was.
So you could see
I could just kind of make out the
shape
outline of it from the glow of the streetlights being reflected back down. That definitely was something I've never seen before. So when you ask me, which way do I lean? Is this guy telling the truth? Is he lying? Well, who am I to make a judgment like that? I don't know. But what I think is that Congress should definitely investigate what he's saying. He's making specific allegations. I've seen it. What I will say is when I saw that in Edwardsville, it kind of sent me down this path of, wait a minute. If I'm seeing that here in Edwardsville, they've got to be everywhere. They've got to be like all over the place.
Yeah.
What is Edwardsville to them?
Right.
And as a matter of fact, they are all over the place. The Navy's been reporting them almost on a daily basis to the UAP task force, which is tasked by Congress to investigate these things. Off the east coast of the United States, off the west coast, they're seeing these things every day. And you would think that this would be the biggest news story of
ever
human history ever.
Yeah.
And we're getting it through these strange channels. The debrief was where this whistleblower's account was first published. Then he tries to go to the Washington Post, the New York Times. They didn't want to take the story. So he ends up giving it to News Nation, which is this new cable news thing that...
Yeah, I've heard of the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're trying to make a big name for themselves by going deep on this whistleblower testimony, which I think they should.
I agree.
Yeah, everybody should be talking about this. And I'm not saying you should believe it. I'm not saying it's true. What I think is that these allegations are serious and concerning because, look, if we have this technology and we're not reverse engineering it because not enough scientists have access to the information, can't coalesce with their sharing of information and thoughts, we're still burning fossil fuels when we could be doing whatever it is those things are doing.
Right.
And so that's where I'm at. From a scientist, I think we need to be really taking a look at this stuff from a scientific perspective. And if there isn't a reverse engineering program, there should be.
Definitely. Definitely.
That's where I land on it.
And I want to go back to your alien story too, and then we're going to go back to this guy's story.
Okay.
So in that moment, you said it was going slow, right? Yeah. Did you have your phone on you?
So that's the thing. It took about 10-15 seconds for it to make it from where I could see it to where I could no longer see it.
Oh, okay.
So, and I was in such a state of shock at like what I'm seeing.
And you probably weren't thinking
well, my first thought was if I go to get my phone out, I'm going to completely miss this. And it was so dark, I didn't even think my phone would be able to even see it. I'd be taking it'd be just a black video with a...
Yeah.
So I decided to live in the moment there.
Do you remember the exact date?
Yeah, well, I have.
Oh, that's right.
Because,
that's right.
Yeah,
it was on
November 2022. Let me see what the.
Yeah.
I think I said it already. November November 26, 2022. So, yeah, maybe the FAA can look into whether there was a large object flying over Edwardsville on that date at night.
Yeah. So do you know anyone, like, have you spoken to like anyone else about this incident? I'm sure obviously because you probably told the story to some people.
I tried to follow the official channels for reporting this to the FAA, and to my surprise, the reporting system leads you nowhere.
Really?
Yeah.
So you reported this.
I tried to call the phone number. It said something about we're not in the office because of COVID, and send an email or something. You send an email.
Nowhere. Dead end.
Dead end.
How far did you take it?
Well, I mean, that's as far as you can go.
Because you couldn't really go.
Yeah.
You couldn't, you tried calling, nothing.
So,
and
after when I called and then you sent an email, dead end.
So, but you did send, you have an email out to them that documents kind of like what happened, or at least enough.
I believe I do have the email. I'd have to look. I never actually went back and looked at that. But like I said, I never got a response. So
right. But you sent them something.
Yeah, I sent them the initial report anyway.
Okay.
And I tried to call the phone number. Like I said, it doesn't go anywhere. It just goes to a recording that doesn't even give you an opportunity to leave a message. So,
Shocker.
Yeah. So that was kind of an awakening for me that if people are seeing things, I mean, some people say, well, how come people aren't, why isn't everybody seeing these? Well,
yeah, I was going to say, do you know anyone else locally that saw it?
I don't know. I posted
well, hopefully somebody that's watching this.
I posted it on Facebook. If anybody else saw it that night, hey, let us know.
Did anyone comment on that? Like did anyone
Most of the comments that I got, there was a lot of comments on it, but none of them were saying that they saw it too. Most of them were like, boy, I hope you're not serious. And like stuff like that, like more out of concern.
Yeah, right. Like, oh my God, like, is everything good? Like, what's going on?
Because I wouldn't normally post something like that. But this was such a unique event for me that I thought I need to document this, at least for my own, to look back on and say, yeah, this is what and hey, here I am.
Now, hey, we got it on video.
Here I am recounting the story, so it's good that I did that. And I would recommend if you ever see something out there, anybody watching this, make sure you document it, write it down, make a post on Facebook, whatever you got to do so you have it to look back on. Because the memory as you get older, you might think, oh yeah, I'll remember that perfectly.
But then it gets fuzzy. In
preparation for this podcast, I couldn't remember all those details that I just recounted to you. So I'm really glad I did that.
Wow. That's
I'm not sure what I gotta say I don't know what the answer is. I don't want to pretend like I have the answer, but I want to say that we should be taking a real look at this. We should be investigating it from a scientific perspective. There's a lot to be gained from reverse engineering alien technology. Now, David Grush is he's the whistleblower, and he's reluctant to say that it's alien. He says non-human intelligence. So
what's the difference? Is there a difference?
Oh yeah, let's think about this. So all right.
Okay.
So have you heard of any civilizations in the past that that existed on Earth that maybe had some technology that maybe aren't around anymore? Sunk under the ocean?
Yes. I don't know the name, but yes.
Atlantis.
Yes, Atlantis. Yes.
All right. So, well, maybe that's a theory. I don't know.
Okay.
It's possible. Maybe there's another species on the planet that lives under the ocean right now that has technology. We have not mapped the ocean floor hardly at all.
So we don't know what's down there.
Yeah, we know more about the surface of the moon, the surface of Mars. We know more about every other planet in the solar system than we do what's under our own oceans. Because
why do you think that is?
The pressure
you can't go down that far.
Yeah, it's just very difficult to go down that far, and the ocean covers 72% of the entire Earth.
There's a lot of coverage.
There's a lot of work to be done. If you recall that Malaysian airline that disappeared over the Indian Ocean, they had a real hard time finding that because they don't have the floor mapped.
Did they ever find it?
they found pieces of it on Reunion Island, but off the coast of Africa, but
Not a lot,
yeah,
right? From what I remember.
They could say that it crashed, but they never found any real substantial amount of wreckage or anything. But what was interesting there is that they mapped a portion of the seafloor there off the coast of Australia, west of Perth, that was not mapped before. And the reason they mapped it is because a plane went missing. So really, I mean, the incentive really isn't there to do these in-depth maps of the ocean floor. Mm-hmm. But we should, because recently, this is one thing I've talked about in other interviews, is as it pertains to climate change, I don't think we have all the data to make predictions years and years out into the future. And my opinion has changed on this.
On climate change?
Yeah.
What was it first?
So when I was at Penn State for meteorology back in the early 2000s, I was in the front row for Dr. Michael Mann's hockey stick hypothesis lecture that he gave to the Penn State meteorology program, where he predicted that global temperatures were going to increase from more or less flat to rapidly
like a hockey
straight
stick.
Up like a hockey stick. Now, remember, this was 2006, 2003 to 6, somewhere around there. And the other prediction from folks like Al Gore at the time and was that we'd have an ice-free Arctic by 2014. Well, so 2023, and
we're a little beyond that.
We're a little behind schedule there, Al. Maybe you could bring him in. For
he invented the internet too, right?
Yeah. So, yeah. At first, I guess you could say I was indoctrinated.
So you believed that? You believed the hockey stick theory?
I believed the anthropogenic global warming narrative, I'll call it.
Okay.
Because as I'm going to show you here in a second, I brought a bunch of documents here with me. And a
science guy.
Yeah, I'm going to support all the claims I make here on the podcast with data. So I'm going to steer away from the politics of climate change when I discuss this topic, but I do want you to have the data, and your viewers should also have the data, because I'm not a climatologist, I'm a meteorologist. So I'm not here to tell you that I have all the answers on climate, but as a citizen of Earth, I have a vested interest in the climate, as we all do.
Right.
So I'm in a particular field where I have access to data that a lot of people don't. So I'm going to share some of it with you here. But before I do that, I guess we should talk about El Nino. I touched on this a bit, and that El Nino is going to kind of set the stage here over the coming year or two.
Okay.
Here you have it up on the screen. Now, on that boxed area of the west coast of South America, extending into the central Pacific, that's where we're looking at. That's the tropical Pacific Ocean, and the colors there represent the anomalies, the temperature anomalies on the ocean surface. Where you see those reds and oranges, that's 3 to 4 degrees Celsius above normal for this time of year. This map was generated June 7th. Doesn't update every day, but this is directly from NOAA. So El Nino's coming, and it's a natural occurrence. It's not because of climate change. It comes and goes every several years. We had La Nina for the last 3 years, which gave us a certain type of winter in this area, which generally was below normal in the snowfall department, but you didn't have to go very far to the north and west. To 2020, the Binghamton area, if anybody's from Binghamton, you got 40 inches or more of snow in December out of one of those storms. So La Nina can be really good for people that are just to the north of where we are here in the Wyoming Valley. But El Nino tends to shift the jet stream further to the south, because as you see here, there's all that warm water out there in the Pacific Ocean, and that generates upward motion in the atmosphere, or lower than normal pressure. So when you have El Nino in the tropical Pacific, that brings the jet stream further south towards it, because you have more of a upward motion center there from all that warm water evaporating and warming the air above it. That tends to increase wind shear, vertical wind shear. So that means you could have wind going from left to right or west to east at the lower levels, from east to west at the upper levels. And that is very bad for hurricane development. So in El Nino years, which is where we're at now, we should expect lower than normal hurricane activity in the Atlantic Ocean because of wind shear produced by that lower than normal pressure in the Pacific. Now, the sort of fly in the ointment, if you will, here is that the Atlantic Ocean is way above normal also, if you look at the Atlantic Ocean. And that would argue for more intense hurricanes.
Right.
Because there's more energy, there's more moisture. So
being sucked up into the clouds, right? Isn't that how that works?
It's exactly how it works. Hurricanes are an engine that change heat into fury and rain, wind, thunderstorms. But when you have ocean temperatures that warm in the Pacific and Atlantic, those are kind of conflicting signals for hurricane season. My interpretation, I know this isn't climate, I'm kind of just sort of laying the groundwork here for the discussion, but the coming year I expect lower than normal hurricane activity, but the ones that do develop are likely to transport a ton of moisture and could be more severe than normal. Think Hurricane Harvey. That wasn't necessarily a lot of wind with that, but there was a heck of a lot of water. And that's what I'm worried about for this hurricane season. Now, as for climate change, CO2, everybody's been talking about CO2. The oceans drive our climate more than atmospheric gas. So, every time an El Nino develops, like we're seeing now, global temperatures increase because you have this just look at the map.
Yeah.
You have this huge section of the globe that's being warmed by the surface waters of the Pacific Ocean. And the way that occurs is that you have this localized area of ocean current that downwells near the South American coast there. And by downwelling, that keeps the warm water near the surface. If it were upwelling, that would bring the cold water from below up to the surface, and you would get La Nina, which is what we had the last few years. So this is going to change our weather. It already has. We already discussed how June has been cooler than normal.
Yeah.
It's possible that continues into the summer. So, my forecast here is for the areas close to the East Coast to be slightly above normal temperature-wise, because you still have all that warm ocean water to deal with. That's likely going to affect the coastal areas. But once you get away from the coast, say northwest Pennsylvania, Ohio, western New York, those areas probably aren't going to be above normal for summer temperatures this year. Probably going to be either normal or below. Right here in the Wyoming Valley, I'm thinking right around normal. So far, we're below normal, so we're going to need a little help to get back to normal. Yeah. So, all right, that brings me to this graph here.
Here we go. Am I a good assistant? Am I doing good?
Yeah,
here?
You're doing great.
All right, awesome.
I brought all this supplemental material because I figured it's better if I have it on the screen for people to reference rather than for me to just talk about a bunch of numbers and you don't have anything.
Everybody's like, he's lying.
Compare it to, right? Yeah. So this graph goes from, it may be hard to see on the bottom there, but on the bottom left, it's January 1895, and on the bottom right, it's December 2011. So this only goes up to 2011, but what you can, and I'll show you another graph that goes from the period after that. From 1895 to 2011, the blue bars, those are the temperatures across the entire United States, the average temperature. So you take the high, the low, you average them all together from all the different reporting stations across the United States, and you come up with an average temperature. In January 1895, that average temperature was about 51 to 52 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's that red line that you see in the center. In December of 2011, the average U.S. temperature was still on that red line. Does it look any different to you than
Nope.
January 1895? No. And there are some ups and downs along the way. You can see some spikes and some troughs.
Yeah, but overall, just like an average.
Yeah, overall,
just average, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. I mean, there's a degree or two in there.
Sure.
Yeah,
but it's not like this.
No, it's nothing like a
No
hockey
roller
stick.
coaster.
But
Yeah, or that.
there is something on there that is like a hockey stick.
I see that. I was gonna point that out.
Those dots that you see, those are the atmospheric CO2 levels. Now, from 1895, you can see those have increased dramatically, like a hockey stick.
Okay.
Temperatures, on the other hand, haven't responded. Now, you might wonder, well, okay, what about the time period after 2011? Well, the next graph I have...
Here we go. Is it?
This is global temperatures now.
Okay.
Now we're going from U.S. temperatures to global.
Okay. A little bit of a shift here,
Yeah,
people. Pay attention.
A little bit of a shift. But we're going to go from 2015 now, the x-axis here across the bottom, 2015 up to ends in May of 2023. I have underlined there in red the average temperature from January 2015 to May 2023 is down by about 1/3 of a degree Celsius.
On the Stacks will be back in a flash after a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Elevation Wellness, NEPA's premier wellness center located on Mundy Street in Wilkes-Barre. From pro athletes to busy parents, Elevation Wellness is leading the conversation when it comes to bettering your health through integrative medicine. Founded by NEPA native Louis Helmecke, Elevation Wellness offers physician-formulated and guided treatments that are administered by registered nurses. To learn more about how you can experience the benefits of IV vitamin therapy, multivitamin booster shots, non-invasive aesthetics, or peptide, NAD, red light, and compression therapy, visit elevation-wellness.com or follow them on Instagram at Elevation Wellness NEPA. All On The Stacks listeners will receive 10% off their first purchase with code STACKS at checkout. Call 570-762-9400 or visit elevation-wellness.com to book your appointment today. Elevation Wellness, taking your health to new heights. Welcome to the future. While you're hearing this ad in the present, the Center for Technology Innovation at Lackawanna College is preparing students for the jobs of tomorrow in the world of advanced technology. The Center for Technology Innovation will offer undergraduate degree programs, corporate training, as well as short-term stackable certificates in areas such as robotics, cybersecurity, electric vehicles, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence. Based at a 90,000 square foot facility in downtown Scranton, Pennsylvania, the Center for Technology Innovation is located 2 hours from the major cities of New York, New Jersey, and Philadelphia, and is just 15 minutes from a commercial airport in a region thriving with tourist attractions and a vibrant restaurant, educational, and cultural scene. Lackawanna College is a proven industry-leading innovator. But don't just take my word for it. Fast Company even recognized Lackawanna College's reputation for innovation by naming them to their top 10 list as one of the world's most innovative companies. For more information or to enroll, call 877-346-3552 or visit lackawanna.edu.
I have the privilege of representing people who have been injured through no fault of their own, and they come to us and they place a lot of trust in us, and we represent them against corporations and insurance companies, and we make those companies know that our clients have a story, that they deserve compensation, and I'm proud to be able to do that for our clients at Anzalone Law.
To learn more, visit Anzalone Law offices online at anzalonelaw.com. And now we're back on the Stacks.
Anyway, the source there is listed. It's from NOAA. The average temperature from January 2015 to the most recent update in May, it's the temperature across the globe is down almost 1/3 of a degree Celsius. Now there are some ups, there are some downs. The thing about climate is it all depends on what date you decide to start this graph on. if I start the graph on, say...
Yeah, it's going to look different.
If I start the graph, say, a year or two later, the number is going to be completely
It's going to be
different.
skewed.
Yeah. So my point in showing you this particular graph is that these numbers, when they show you, the climate's changing by X amount of degrees since, well, it's that since number that really changes the data. Because let's say you go back 100,000 years. Temperatures were way warmer than they are now. I mean, before the last ice age, you had the climate optimum. After the last ice age, we had the Roman warm period, which allowed the Roman Empire to thrive. I mean, warming isn't always a bad thing. There have been times in our past where the climate has been warmer than it is today. And that's one thing that I think this narrative of anthropogenic climate change gets into, is that somehow we're causing the climate to change. Actually, the climate is always changing. It's a fallacy to think that it stays the same. It doesn't. The land masses are moving around the planet slowly, maybe centimeters over a year, millimeters even. I'm not sure on the exact rate of continental drift there, but that's a term you could look up.
Yeah, I remember that one. It's complicated.
It's happening. The continents are changing, and if you go over a time period of hundreds of millions of years, they're going to be in completely different locations. Of
course.
And the climate, as a result, is going to be different. So that's a point I want to make. The other point I want to make here is, as it pertains to carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. That's the next graph we have here. So I mentioned underwater volcanoes. There's been 19,000 of them discovered just in the last couple of months that we didn't previously know about. Active underwater volcanoes. As I mentioned, the seafloor isn't well mapped. We've discovered volcanoes that are adding heat to the ocean from below. These active volcanoes are heating up the ocean from below.
I see where this is going.
Yeah, you're starting to see where this is going.
I'm connecting the dots here, Mark.
That's right. See, I laid the groundwork. It took us a little while to get here.
All right, I'm following.
Yeah, you're starting to catch on.
I was like that kid in school who got lost in the discussion, the teacher's lecture, and I'm like, oh no.
I tried to lay this out in a way where I won't lose anybody.
Yeah,
Hopefully you're still with us here. So the carbon dioxide increase in the atmosphere. Can it increase surface temperatures? Yes, but it doesn't do so equally as you continue to increase CO2. Now think about it. CO2 is more dense than the rest of the air, so it tends to sort of hang out near in the lowest elevations, valleys. As the CO2 increases, we're going to see that level go up into the atmosphere. Well, that CO2 that's now up here at, say, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 feet, well, that's not really having much of an effect on the surface anymore as it did when it was first
here
on the surface.
Right.
And that's what this graph shows. Most of the carbon warming comes in the first 20 parts per million.
Now, what does that mean?
So the atmospheric concentration of CO2 is listed across the bottom there.
Yep.
Today, we're at about 400 parts per million. Pre-industrial times, we're about 270 parts per million, give or take. And as you can see there, on this graph, this is an attempt to quantify how much warming you get per 20 parts per million increase in CO2. So the first 20 parts per million increase, you see a dramatic increase, almost over 2 degrees Celsius for that 20 parts per million. So, your first 20 parts per million, you're going way up on the temperature change. Then you keep adding CO2, keep adding it. We're now up to, as I mentioned, 400 parts per million. We're only increasing it a minuscule...
Very little.
Very, very little.
From CO2.
And the more CO2 that we put in beyond this point, the less it increases.
So it's going to go down.
No, it's not.
But it's not going to increase.
It's not going to increase. It's not going to accelerate.
Got it.
The rate of warming for the atmosphere will decelerate, but it'll still be increasing.
Got it.
Like, you know how you're driving your car, your velocity can be sort of increasing, but you don't have your gas on, you don't have your foot pinned to the floor, your acceleration's decreasing, but you're still going faster.
Right.
That's what's happening here. The carbon dioxide is, we're way past the saturation point of carbon dioxide. So we have experienced warming, but that's way behind us now. Every amount of warming that we see from this point forward should be less and less the higher the concentration gets. I mean, there will come a point if you pump enough CO2 into the atmosphere that we all suffocate. But I mean, that's physically. I mean, there's not enough CO2 to do that. So if we go down to the next document I have here, this graph, it's a little blurry there, so I'll just lay it out here for you. The blue line that you can see there, that's seismic activity in the mid-ocean spreading centers. So where the ocean is spreading apart and the continents are drifting apart, we can measure seismic activity with the earthquakes and things, and we can graph how much activity there is. Well, if you plot seismic activity and then you overlay the global temperature change, which is that red line, they're almost a perfect correlation. So I would say this is your best argument for correlation and causation. So correlation doesn't always mean causation. You can correlate, say, I ate a ham sandwich and it rained. Well, did I cause it to rain by eating a ham sandwich? No. But seemingly every time I eat a ham sandwich, it rains that day.
Did you eat a ham sandwich today because it rained?
No. But as an example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In this case, I think we have a pretty good argument here from the data that seismic activity in the mid-ocean spreading centers is allowing heat to be released from the Earth's mantle, which is still very hot. The rock there is more like a plasticky liquid than rock. And as that heat gets released into the ocean, well, of course, the global temperatures are going to increase if you suddenly start releasing all this heat from deep below the oceans into the oceans. The oceans are essentially our heat sink. If you're familiar with computer technology, processor needs a good heat sink to distribute the warmth around the planet. And that's exactly what it's doing. It's taking the extreme heat of those volcanoes and distributing it around the planet. I'm skeptical of the narrative. Are you? Are the viewers skeptical yet?
I'm skeptical. I
think we all should be. I think there's a lot of money that's involved in this narrative that, I mean, New York State is banning gas stoves. Have you heard that?
What?
Yeah, New York State. The
Really?
Governor Kathy Hochul, I think that's how you say her name. She's decided that gas stoves should be banned. They signed that into law. So they're not going to come around and, I guess, remove the gas stoves from your house, but they're not going to allow
To put new ones in.
So my question is, what are these people going to be cooking their food with if they're not using gas stoves? I guess the other option is electric. Well, where does your energy come from when you're using electric? People try to tell you, oh, we're going to put in solar panels. We're going to put in windmills. One thing I noticed on my winter storm chases this past year to upstate New York, Vermont, there's a lot of solar farms, a lot of them. And the entire winter, they were covered in snow.
Yeah, that's not going to work out.
So if you're relying on solar panels in the winter, you're going to have trouble cooking your food. If you're relying on windmills, well, they're unreliable too because the wind doesn't always blow. So I think it's a mistake to put all our eggs in an unreliable energy basket here with expecting wind and solar to do all the work. It can't. Maybe on a huge scale, if we had the battery technology to store it, we could do this, where you like transform a part of the desert into a bunch of solar panels. But again, here's the problem. All that mining and dirty manufacturing that goes into making that stuff, I don't think you're actually reducing your impact on the environment by doing that.
Right.
So again, we're going to ban gas stoves. We're going to California's banning gas-powered vehicles by 2030. So they're going to have an all-electric fleet. So again, where are they getting their energy from?
To make
they're going to have to burn fossil fuels at either a coal plant
somewhere,
or a gas plant, in order to power the Tesla chargers or the whatever.
Right? Yeah. Like where's the power get the power?
The power's got to come from somewhere. The best option is nuclear, but then so my question is, and I'm going to look directly into the camera. You mainstream media people that are pushing this narrative, why aren't you talking about nuclear? You want us on green energy. Nuclear has no emissions. Why aren't you talking about it? Why do you demonize nuclear power? We should be building nuclear power plants like it's going out of style. We haven't built one in years.
Why not? What is your I guess I'll call it theory behind that?
I don't have a good answer for this because it's illogical. Like I have a logical way of trying to explain things, and 1 and 1 don't make 2 on this. If your argument is that we need to stop pumping CO2 into the atmosphere and save the planet by changing our energy source, build some nuclear power plants.
But that's
not happening.
Yeah.
I mean, well,
yeah.
it is.
They're saying, but they're not talking about it.
Right? They have the nuclear technology has. I mean, they have nuclear reactors that we have one on Mars. We have one powering the Curiosity rover on Mars.
Crazy.
I mean, they're so small now. There's no way. The waste is. I mean, people are worried about the waste because it takes forever to 20,000 years for it to decay or whatever. We have places to store that. We under the mountains in the west. I mean, we're already doing it for the nuclear power plants we have. And those were built like 40, 50 years ago. The technology is vastly improved. I mean, we have I believe they run on I don't want to say it because I'll be wrong.
It's all right.
Yeah, I'm not a nuclear physicist, guys. I just know that nuclear power is the way to transform society. Now, there was recently a breakthrough in nuclear fission, or nuclear fusion, I should say, which is different than nuclear fission. Fission is where you split the atom. Fusion's where you
bring it together.
Fusion doesn't have all the nasty particles. When you split an atom, I mean, you're getting
things are going all over.
Things are going all over. You're getting decay particles.
Get a little hairy.
Fusion, you're taking hydrogen, 2 hydrogen atoms, and you're fusing them together to make helium. Well, helium doesn't hurt anybody. It releases
unless it's a bomb.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I don't think we have a helium bomb. We do have a hydrogen bomb, and I believe, again, not a nuclear physicist here, but I believe that does use let me think here. I'm going to say that the hydrogen bomb probably uses a conventional explosive to compress a fuel pellet of hydrogen. That's my theory. And then by the conventional explosive creating that compressive wave towards the fuel, it fuses it and creates your nuclear reaction. Fusion power, the breakthrough that was announced about a month or so ago, that could be like life-changing. Again, back to the UFO topic. I mean, whatever they're using, that could change our way of life.
Right. We need to find out.
Fusion power, nuclear power. We have several routes we could go here, but seemingly the one that society has chosen is to have a 16-year-old be the face of climate activism. Greta Thunberg. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why. If you wanted to really be serious about your message, no matter what it was, would you choose a 16-year-old to be the face of the message?
Probably not. No,
I don't think so. And maybe she's doing some good, but I don't know. I really question this whole, I don't know who to even say is behind it all. I have no idea. But there are interests, financial interests, that stand to make a lot of money off of getting everybody off of using gas stoves or gas vehicles, and ultimately that's what drives the policy changes.
And that's when it gets political, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's all political behind that.
Correct.
Right?
And the problem for me is that I try to share data with people, but a big speed bump is getting over the politics of it. Like, here, no, just look at the data.
Right. People don't know how to do that,
like,
by the way.
So given this data, what do you think we should do? I mean, temperatures aren't really changing. I mean, there's the global temperature change there in red, and the dates there are, looks like the last 100 years. It's changing, but like I said, I mean, climate's always changing. Is this a climate crisis, which is the word I've seen thrown out there? I don't think so. I really don't. I used to think differently. I really did.
So you used to be like a Greta Thunberg.
Yeah.
Is that her name?
I think I was, I don't know. It's hard to do a self-reflection on how you could be duped, I guess. But that's the way I feel, because when I was in school at Penn State, even to a lesser extent at Wilkes, the narrative was so deeply ingrained in academia that it was hard to even hear an alternative.
It was just kind of one-way street.
Yeah, it was just, this is how it is. And
it's like
as like a 18, 19, 20
you're
something,
impressionable.
Yeah. I mean, you think that your teachers know better than you do.
Yeah, and you're trusting them.
Yeah. And I did. And well, now 20 years later, the predictions that were made, the ice-free Arctic didn't come true. Hockey stick global temperatures didn't come true. On and on. I mean, point to any climate prediction that was out beyond a couple of years. None of them have come true. Not in the last 20 years anyway that I've been following.
So you're thinking that all this is just a natural progression, and there's just ebbs and flows, and there isn't, like, we're not, as humans, what we're doing isn't causing a crisis.
So the planet is warming over a long 100-year time scale. But again, like I mentioned, if you start it there, you're going to get one answer. If you start at 100,000
you're going to get a different answer.
You're going to get a different answer. So the climate's changing. Is it a crisis? My argument now, after being interviewed on this topic now, this is probably the third or fourth time I've done enough research to say I've become convinced that this is just a narrative. That the powers that be, the PTB, whoever they are, they want to see people suffer, I guess, because that's what it would be to try to achieve these net zero goals that countries all around the world are making policies. And are they looking at this data? I mean, here, let's play a game.
I already know what you're going to ask.
If you were a policymaker and I was your advisor and I gave you this, what kind of policy would you come up with to address this?
Well, let me say this. Depends on how much I'm getting paid. Right? No, seriously. And I don't mean that in a way like that's what I would do. I just mean that for argument's sake, right? There's these people are, I feel like, and maybe you feel the same way. Correct me if I'm wrong. But like you said a few minutes ago, there's people are being paid to have certain industries either do better or do worse. And that all, I think, stems with policy, right? And it's like these politicians or whoever the hell. I don't really know a whole lot about politics, but I know enough to, be dangerous, right? Like people are being persuaded by money.
So
right?
I think I'm gonna breach this term here on this podcast, the weather industrial complex.
Okay.
Some people will laugh at me saying that, but it's a real thing. The Weather Channel, the National Weather Service, these corporate AccuWeather, these corporate entities work to bring you weather information. That can be good, that can be bad. Corporate entities coming together to bring you any kind of information can be bad.
Because they're getting paid a lot of money.
Because there's an incentive there. There's a financial incentive for them to tell you a certain type of information.
Interesting.
And when they get so big, they become what I've called the weather industrial complex. There's this narrative that pervades these sources, and unfortunately, it's up to independent guys like myself to go around on the podcast circuit and share data with people. And I've been doing my best to do that. And look, I don't have all the answers. I can't tell you that maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody else disagrees with me. Maybe they have data that supports them.
Yeah, but you know what I appreciate about what you just said there? Like in that moment, I know I cut you off, but the fact that you just like said, "Hey, like I could be wrong though." Like I feel like there's a lot of people.
I'm not a climatologist,
right? And there's a lot of people probably that go around and talk about maybe the things that you believe or the opposite, but like they only are like just driving home like their point and not really maybe open for discussion or saying like I could be wrong, I could be right. You know what I mean? Like, so I appreciate that you're you're not just obviously you do have an opinion. I'll say like a little bit more one way or the other, regardless of the topic. But at the same time, you're still saying like it could be wrong.
Yeah, I like to think of myself as very open-minded. I've made mistakes in my youth where I was too narrow-minded in certain situations, and I can't even really think of the specifics now, but it was enough that it changed me. Like I made a conscious effort to just don't be so quick to think that you have all the answers, to think that we know everything. We don't. I mean, science, one thing that drove me nuts over the whole COVID thing was trust the science. As a scientist, that's not how it works. Science is about testing, constantly updating theories and proving things wrong and learning from your mistakes. We scientists don't trust the science. I mean, that term is just ridiculous to me. I'm sorry. I have to say that because there's this mind virus that's gone out there. It's just trust the science, and then there's you try to ask your own questions, and you get censored. Over the last few years, you know what I'm talking about. There have been plenty of people that have been booted off of social media.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna clip that right there. By the way, all some of the things you just said, I'll probably post that on social media, and we'll see if it gets taken down.
Okay.
Or some of the things, because they probably, like you said, like people, like when people talk like that, it just gets censored.
Yeah.
Right.
Seemingly so, and it's one of the things I mentioned before we started this podcast. So I'm thinking about starting a YouTube channel because of all the video footage I have from these winter storm chases. One of the things that I've been reluctant to start on with that is because, well, YouTube has been one of the most prolific censorship organizations over the last several years, and
they're cracking down.
Yeah. I'm a fan of Jimmy Dore, the comedian, and it's sad. He has a YouTube show, and he can't say what he wants to say because of the YouTube rules. He's got to dance around it and stuff. So I hope that one day soon society is going to wake up and realize that open discussions like we're having here on this podcast about controversial topics aren't bad. We need to have more of them. The more we have, the better our society will be. And until we get there, I think we're we're going to be living through chaos. That's what it seems. It seems like it's been these last few years. Even with the weather. I mean, we've got smoke, we've got aliens, we've got COVID, we've got. What do you believe? I mean, like I said, it's hard to trust what the government says, given everything that's happened over these last few years. So some people will say some of the things I've talked about today are, oh, it's just a distraction. Well, let me ask you, are you capable of thinking of more than one thing at a time? I think most of us are, right? I can think about aliens and the weather.
Yeah, we thought about a lot of things.
We thought about a lot of things.
Right. Yeah. But all good.
Yeah, definitely. I think we need more of these discussions, more
I agree.
long-form, open. Censorship is bad in every form that it ever has taken in human history. Name me one time where censorship solved a problem.
Yeah, didn't.
It didn't.
Just causes more problems.
Yeah, it just causes more. I mean, when you censor somebody, tends to either make the problem worse or you'll just give them more exposure to whatever it is you're trying to stop. I mean, you got to let people speak, and when they have something crazy to say, let the public think for themselves. That's another problem. Mainstream media seems to approach their news as if the viewer can't think for themselves. They, rather than report the news, they feed it to you, if that makes sense. Like, they don't let you make up your own mind about. They don't give you the data like I just gave you,
right?
And let you make up.
They're just telling you that
your own mind.
That there's a crisis.
They'll just tell you, it's a climate crisis, and we're speeding towards a cliff, and our children are doomed. And look at Greta. I mean, that poor girl. She thought they stole her childhood away from her and everything. I mean, this climate narrative. We need people, other scientists like myself that have access to the data, come forward, post on Twitter, post on Facebook, do your own podcast, be a guest on a podcast, get the data out there so that people can make more accurate and knowledgeable policy decisions around the world. And the other thing is, when was the last time we had a scientist as a president? Never.
I guess that's why I couldn't answer that question.
Yeah, never.
I'm sitting here thinking like, oh my God, is this like, what am I missing here?
No, that some people, they don't I mean, a lot of people don't realize that. We've literally never had a scientist as a president. When's that going to come? I mean,
Margavage, 2024. Voting for him.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the start.
This might be it.
Maybe. I don't know. 2024 is, I think that's too soon.
Okay.
Maybe for the next one.
All right. We'll have you back.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah.
We'll have you back multiple times between now and then for sure.
I do think I appreciate that. I'd love to come back and talk with you on whatever you want to talk about.
This is like that. Yeah, this is exciting stuff.
I think that this is good. I think these kind of conversations are exactly what needs to happen, and I am happy to do them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm happy to share knowledge. That's what I do with my weather page. I approach my weather page very differently than your run-of-the-mill weather outlet. I try to talk about what I find interesting because I've realized that you can't please everyone. And trying to do so is a fool's errand.
You'll be miserable all the time, right?
You'll just be constantly trying to make everybody happy, and you'll never reach that.
And never make yourself happy, yeah.
What I've done with my weather page is I've targeted an audience. Like I said, I realized there was a niche there for accurate winter weather forecasting. I mean, people need to know more than 24 hours in advance if you're going to have a snowstorm. You have to arrange transportation, rearrange your appointments, whatever. I try to give people that on Patreon, where I do most of my forecasting now. Patreon.com/MarksWeather if you want to check it out.
There it is. Hit it up, people.
And on Facebook, it's facebook.com/marksweather. That's where I do my weather discussions. As I mentioned, that's things I find interesting. I've evolved to start doing storm chases. People seem to really like that. A few of my videos have gotten hundreds of millions of views.
That's wild.
And I never would have imagined that I would be saying that, or that I'd be here doing this. I mean, when I started out, like I said, there was one person that I didn't even know, and just it grew over time. And I hope to do more. I want to kind of create a studio like you have here, so that I could do a kind of a weather podcast with other meteorologists.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. So I have a few of you in mind. If you're watching, you're going to get reached out to by me or my team pretty soon.
Love it. So, all right. So when you're not, deep into the data and the weather and everything, what else are you doing?
So in the winter, my sleep schedule changes, actually. I get so busy in the winter that I have to sleep twice a day, but only for 4 hours.
Interesting.
I schedule my sleep around the computer models, so I get to see when the latest data comes out, because computer models have a tendency to change dramatically. So you can never just... at least for me, I say you, but I really mean me. I can never just go to sleep and call it a day if there's a snowstorm coming.
It can change.
Yeah, because it can change, and I know there are people depending on me. There's a lot of pressure once you get to 60,000 followers, and you know that people are waking up.
I thought you were going to say 60,000 feet, but
no, 60,000 followers.
Yeah.
So you know people are depending on you for accurate weather information. It's a lot of pressure, especially in the winter, because that's actually dangerous to drive in.
Sure.
So, my goal is to keep people safe and bring them the joy of winter.
Yeah.
People, you need to avoid driving, especially when there's only an inch or two of snow. More accidents happen in an inch or two of snow than a foot of snow. And the reason for that is when there's a foot of snow, people stay home.
Yeah.
When there's an inch or two, they're like,
just an inch.
It's just an inch.
Just
I
an
can
inch.
handle it.
Yeah.
Well,
So you still play in the snow as an adult now?
Yeah, actually I do. Sorry, I'm doing a long-winded answer to your
It's all right.
What do I do when I'm not deep in the data? So I do play in the snow as an adult. I made it a point this past winter to try to build a snowman in every month that I could. And I accomplished one in October, November, December, January, February, March, and April. And so if you count those months up, that's more than half of the year that I was able to build a snowman here in Pennsylvania, I might add. So, yeah. The first one was in Corey, PA. That was my first storm chase of the year back in October. It was awesome to see the snow with the fall foliage at the same time. I really, for as little snow as they only got 2 inches. That's one of my more favorite memories of this past winter, because it was the first, and there's something magical about that first snowfall. And then there were 14 more after that. So, despite how little snow we got here, it was an active winter here in the Northeast, and I certainly made the best out of it. As far as content creation goes, I know you wanted to talk to me a bit about content creation. So I would recommend for upcoming content creators to definitely take a look at Patreon as a foundation for what you're doing. Because for me, it was about 6 or 7 years of making accurate forecasts without making a dime off of it, really. And it took that long for people to finally feel comfortable enough to subscribe to me. And once you get that ball rolling, the word of mouth starts to spread and you can grow. The thing Patreon does for me, it allows people to support me financially with however much they're willing to give, $10, $20, whatever. But it's on a monthly basis. So when I'm planning out my storm chases, it gives me an idea. Okay, I have this much to work with.
Kind of projecting.
Yeah, I also have to eat, you know.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I'm not a machine. I do have bills to pay.
You're a human. Are you a human?
Yeah, I am.
Are you
as
sure?
A matter of fact,
you sure? Okay.
Despite what some of my family thinks during the winter because of my sleep habits, I am human.
You are, in fact.
But yeah, long-winded answer. In the summer, I tend to take more of a relaxed role. I report when there's severe weather happening, when smoke, and any interesting weather phenomenon. But it's definitely on a much less rigorous schedule than between, say, November and April.
So you have some time to relax.
I have some time to relax, but believe it or not, this is about the middle of June. It's only about another month and a half before I start my winter forecast.
Okay.
So
you're like right into it.
Yeah, and you start getting some of that data there in August. You can really start to see what's happening around the North Pole. You can start to see how the polar vortex develops. As a matter of fact, I've made it a yearly tradition to go out to Knoebels and report from the North Pole that they have there. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
On Polar Vortex Day at the end of August. I do a little live report from the North Pole to say, hey, the polar vortex has returned.
Yeah. I love it. And I just pulled up your Patreon here, and there is some free stuff on here, right? It appears to be there's some stuff that you could.
I don't paywall everything because with weather information, some of that is public safety, but the long range winter weather stuff, yeah, I do paywall that, and that's because it took many years of education.
Yes, and no money.
And no
right?
money, and many years of honing my skills in order to be able to produce the content that I do at such a long range. The local news and, even the National Weather Service that doesn't go out as far as I go in the winter. I've been known to nail a snowstorm forecast from 14 days in advance. I did it just this past year, 2 separate times actually.
2 for 2.
Yeah, this past year, 2 of them were from 2 weeks out, and that was the storm that hit Buffalo that killed a few people in December, and then the lake effect event back in November that produced 77 inches. I was able to get there ahead of time. Jim Cantori of the Weather Channel was actually up there in Buffalo. I told him, hey, Jim, come on down to Hamburg. He came down.
Did you meet him?
Yeah.
Was that the first time?
Yeah, it wasn't the first time I met him, but yeah.
Okay.
The first time I met him was in Boston, not this past winter, but the year before.
Okay.
So I did have like a line of communication to reach out to him and say, hey, come on down to Hamburg.
I think that the first thing that comes to mind all the time when you think of him, and I know you probably know what I'm about to say, is remember there was that video of him, I forget when it was, however many years ago, the thunder snow.
Oh yeah.
Right? Remember that he lost his mind, right?
I'm very similar with thunder snow.
Are you?
Hamburg, I keep going back to Hamburg in this conversation. It must have been a good trip.
Yeah.
Thunder snow almost every 2 minutes for 5 hours straight. I mean, man, that was an experience I'll never forget. I live streamed it on Facebook at Mark's Weather, so it's still there if you want to see what thunder snow looks like. The video's still up there. And
nice.
It's quite the experience. The sound of thunder when it's snowing is much different than when it's raining, and that's because of the geometry of the snowflakes. They scatter the sound in all different directions. So unless you're right underneath that lightning bolt, you might not even hear it.
Interesting.
Even so, it sounds very like muffled, almost like you're wearing earmuffs.
Okay. Wow.
Gotta take a drink here.
Go ahead. You did a lot of talking, man. Gotta give this guy a little break here, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of used to it. I do live streams, live weather discussions on Facebook, and they tend to go a little long when I have something to talk about. I have had ones go an hour long just talking about the weather forecast.
Yeah.
And when you think about, the local news stations, they're giving you their weather report in a matter of 5 minutes. I'm doing something totally different. That's not what I do.
Yeah.
And I just like I said, I don't fit the mold of what you would expect out of your typical meteorologist. And some people like it, some people don't. Again, you can't please everybody. I try to be myself, and so far that has served me
paid
well.
off,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, it has.
And I think that one of the other things I really like about you in the short time that we've met and spoke is just how passionate you really are about what you do and how much pride you take in your work. Because it shows in the quality.
I appreciate that. I definitely am passionate.
Yeah, I love that because and you're you're obviously a content creator as well, just like I am.
I have
right?
to say though, I would not be where I am today without the support of my family and especially the supporters I have on Patreon.
Yeah, give these people a shout out.
These guys they're supporting me. They're making everything I do possible, and without them, I don't know that I would have a weather business.
Yeah, what would you be doing?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's weird to think about that, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd be like one of the Lost Boys, I guess.
Yeah. You'd be Sad Mark.
Yeah, I'd be a man without a mission, I guess.
You wouldn't have that beard?
No, I wouldn't. Actually, come to think of it, when I was in college, I had a handlebar mustache.
Did you?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it was an award-winning handlebar.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'll send you the newspaper.
How big was this thing?
Okay, I'll send you the newspaper article, and you can put it up on the screen wherever here.
Yeah.
And you'll see a picture of this this handlebar mustache.
I love that.
It was epic. It was 8 inches long.
That's what she said.
But yeah, I really rocked the handlebar back in college, and I think I did it well. I entered a national mustache competition through Spencer's Gifts.
National?
Yeah, and came in second place.
Nationally? Second place?
Second place.
Oh my God.
Spencer's Gifts
Holy
Mustache
shit.
March competition. Yep.
Wow.
And that was thanks in a large part to the students at Wilkes while I was there. I did a Get Out the Vote campaign. So, hey, maybe I am. You know what? Maybe I do have a history where maybe I am the man to become president one day.
You might be cut out for this.
I think you might have put that idea in my head.
You might be cut out. I mean, you got the suit already. I mean, look at this guy. Look at this.
I just need the little American flag lapel pin here.
Easy. That'll be easy.
Fit right in.
Yeah, you don't have to do much more. I mean, you're already
Yeah, I think we need a scientist as a president, though.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, with all the issues we have, even the alien thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Give us a scientist in there that can make heads or tails out of it. Doesn't have to disclose all kinds of confidential information, classified information. We need a scientist, and we need collaboration. If they do have these craft, we need collaboration among scientists. We need a scientist to handle the data on climate change. There's a lot of reasons to have a scientist as a president, and it just blows my mind that we've never had one.
Yeah.
I guess the closest we ever came was Thomas Jefferson. But he was more of a political scientist than a...
So that's like a fake scientist.
I don't know if I'd use the word fake. There is a science to politics.
Right. Yeah. Well, listen. This is the beginning of the campaign trail right here.
It could be. It could be.
Yeah. And by the way, I think you should get the handlebar. You can still grow it back even now, right?
I could grow it back.
By the way, I could too. I don't know if you could see it in mine.
Yeah,
but
I think you're about 2 months away from the start of a good handlebar.
Yeah. Oh, it naturally, by the way, it naturally, I was waiting to tell you this, but it naturally, it does curl.
You gotta try it then. Don't let anybody talk you out of it.
I don't
Pick up some mustache wax.
Okay.
Clubman. That's what I use.
Okay.
It works, and once you get a little length there, you just
start doing this. Yeah. Mine even, I feel like naturally, because at one point, when I first started maybe growing the beard or had it after a year or so, I just wouldn't trim it as often as I do now. And like I said, naturally, that's
how it all started with me.
It just and I could just twist it myself like this, without even anything on it, and it's kind of stays.
I see that.
You see it happening?
Yeah, you're
right.
You're where I was when I had the epiphany to, hey, maybe I could do something with this.
Yeah.
And I was in class one day and I was going like this.
Right, yeah, that's me too. I was just
playing
like,
with my mustache.
Right?
And, yeah, it just turned into an award-winning mustache. Who knows? Maybe you'll be the next mustache march competitor.
Maybe I will. So like I have this problem, and maybe you have the same problem too. Like it doesn't really connect to the bottom.
As a matter of fact,
right?
I don't know if you can see this. I came up with a solution for that.
Did you? What is it?
So my left side doesn't connect. The right side does.
Okay.
I decided to stop growing the left side longer and just trim the right side.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So like I had the same problem, but what we are afforded, guys like you and I, are second place award-winning handlebar mustaches.
That's right.
Right?
I should have won that competition. When you see the picture, I think you'll agree.
Yeah, I probably will. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. I'll definitely send it. Hopefully you could get it up
jealous.
For the people to see.
Oh, we have to. Like we absolutely have to at this point because like that's like
it's a pretty good picture. I imagine it being like right here.
Yeah.
Compare the two of us here.
We need handlebar Mark and non-handlebar Mark.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Well, yes. I feel like we have to have a part 2 of just aliens, by the way.
Yeah, we should.
Could you
do the congressional hearings, because those are coming.
When's that?
Well, I don't know the date on those, but as soon as I figure out the date, I'll definitely be in touch with you. I would be happy to talk about it, and especially if I had more information to go on than I do right now. Now, my biggest concern about the whistleblower is that it's secondhand information. Like he was having people report to him, and they're giving him the evidence, right? But he's not the one witnessing the craft. He's not the one there. Now, maybe when Congress gets a hold of this, they'll start interviewing these people because they're out there. And I've heard that there's a couple other whistleblowers that are going to come forward. So honestly, I think the pot's boiling and the lid's bound to come flying off here pretty soon. I don't think they can keep a lid on this one anymore. The aliens.
It's time.
Yeah,
Mark, it's time.
It's
seriously.
It's past time.
Yeah, yes, way past due. So, how about we do this? We'll see what kind of feedback we get from your followers, right, and from mine from this episode, and we'll formulate a part 2.
All right.
I mean, like, I would like it to probably be more about the alien stuff, but
hey, if you have suggestions on what we should talk about the next time I'm on the podcast,
drop them in the comments.
Let us know
DM
what you think we should talk about.
Comment alien if you want alien part 2.
Hashtag alien.
Yes, hashtag alien, hashtag handlebar mustache. I think everybody deserves a handlebar mustache.
Maybe you'll have one by the next time. And we can discuss grooming techniques and stuff.
Yes, but before that, we also have to lock down a sponsorship that we both can get paid from.
Clubman, are you listening?
Yeah, right.
Shout
Listen
out.
up. Yeah, if you're not already sponsored, let's make that happen, both of us, because we're both gonna have really nice handlebar mustaches.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I wonder if the aliens have them.
I don't know. I haven't seen one. I hear that they have the bodies. I'd like to see pictures of those.
Yeah, that would be very interesting.
What do you think an alien looks like?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I really don't know. I mean, obviously the first thing I'm picturing is probably just something stupid like you would see like if you just Googled alien, you're probably going to, either one, find the movie, or like two, you're going to just see like that stereotypical like weird shaped head. You know what I mean? Like that very typical thing. So I wouldn't even know where to begin to describe it.
Yeah, I don't know. I've tried to think scientifically about this. Like if they're coming from a planet that has more gravity than Earth, they're probably not going to be tall.
Yeah.
They're going to be short and stocky. And if they come from a planet that has lower gravity, well, maybe they're tall and lanky.
Yeah.
It's one idea. I don't know. I don't think they're going to have the 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth kind of configuration, though. And I mean, when you think of an octopus, I mean, that thing to me looks like an alien.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a lot of alien things under the ocean.
Somehow we're related if you go back far enough, and so to think that aliens have to be even crazier than that.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine then.
Yeah.
Well, maybe next time we'll have some something.
Yeah, we might have an idea.
Maybe we'll have
Maybe we'll
something.
have some pictures that leak, or who knows.
Something. Yeah. All right. Well, until then, how can our listeners connect with you online?
So I'm on Twitter at MeteoMark. That's MEteoMark. And on Facebook, it's at Mark's Weather, one word, no space. And on Patreon, if you're an event planner, if you're a plow truck driver, if you have any interest in accurate winter weather forecasts, or you just want to support the work I'm doing, patreon.com/marksweather is the place to support me.
All right. There it is.
And thank you, Bill. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you inviting me on here, and I'd be happy to do it again.
Yeah, and shout out to our friend. I know, like it's like the very end here, but shout out to Jimmy Martin.
Yeah,
for
Jimmy Martin. I want to say, despite the maybe adversarial relationship we had during football in high school, you're a good guy. He's all
right. Yeah,
have some fond memories of Jim from high school.
You can tell me those after the show. So if you tell me some of those.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
So thanks, Jim, for setting this up, and hopefully I'll get to see you sometime soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I appreciate you coming in. This was very knowledgeable, and this was a great conversation, man. Like you said earlier, and I just want to like piggyback off what you said. Like these conversations are the conversations that like people just need to have and just be open about it.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Like one way or the other. I feel like so many people nowadays just can't have this type of conversation without like having like it turning into an argument or somebody being offended or not, or only wanting to see one way.
Yeah. I think I succeeded in avoiding the political landmines when discussing these topics.
Yeah.
Danced around a few, but yeah, they tend to do get political, and I think if you can avoid those pitfalls, then you can have a successful conversation and maybe change some people's minds along the way.
Yeah. Intelligent conversations.
That's right.
Might I add. All right. Well, until next time, Mark Margavage on the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door Studio. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. We'll catch you next time on The Stacks.